Do you want to know how Boris Johnson threw alcohol parties? How many women has the English politician swapped? Stay tuned and we'll tell you all the secrets of the British Prime Minister's life. Today we're going to talk about one of the most flamboyant and eccentric politicians of our time. The former Mayor of London, former Foreign Secretary and now leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister of Great Britain, Boris Johnson, is considered to be one of the most flamboyant and eccentric politicians. The notorious troublemaker has insulted colleagues, organized drinking parties, and been caught up in sex scandals on more than one occasion. Recently, the minister and his newly married wife started a huge renovation of their residence and decorated the walls with gold. The British Electoral Commission is still investigating where they got the money for this. Fiancé again. I was very surprised to see him come to the meeting with a good haircut. He didn't look as disheveled as usual. The first thing I thought was that he was preparing for some important event, said a source in the Prime Minister's entourage. At the time, Boris Johnson's colleagues were not yet aware of his impending wedding. That a 56-year-old politician was to marry his 33-year-old lover Carrie Simons on 29 May came as a complete surprise to many. The couple had kept it a secret for the past 6 months. They even went out on a limb. A few days before the wedding, news leaked to the media that a date, June 30, 2022, and the venue had finally been chosen. The paper said that the wedding was going to take place at Shepherd's House, the country residence of British Prime Ministers. But things have turned out differently. The ceremony was held at Westminster Cathedral, which was closed to the public for several hours. The celebration was attended by only 30 people. Large companies were banned because of the coronavirus pandemic. Among the guests were Boris's father Stanley Johnson and his sister Julia, who had received invitations just before the event. At 1400, the bride arrived at the cathedral in a limousine wearing a white dress and a wreath of natural white flowers, the same as those in the groom's boutonniere. Little Wilfred Laurie Nicholas, the couple's son born in April last year, also attended the ceremony. He became Boris's 5th official child. The politician's entourage say he has several other children out of wedlock. The newlyweds have postponed their honeymoon for a year. They also planned to celebrate their wedding with family and friends on a grand scale in 2022, but this year they have limited themselves to a small celebration in the Downing Street garden. All staff were required to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but some details did leak to the media. For example, it was revealed that the band Fiddling About entertained the guests. All eyes were on the bride's dress. Simons wore a 1970s-inspired gown by Greek fashion house Christos Kostarelos, costing almost £3,000. She had to pay just £45 for the outfit, which Johnson's fiancé rented. The groom wore a festive navy blue suit and blue tie. This marriage was the third for Boris Johnson. His first wife was a popular socialite, journalist and sculptor Allegra Mostinowen. With his second wife, lawyer Marina Wheeler, they were married for 25 years and had 2 daughters and 2 sons. Get out of my house! Johnson's current wife, Carrie Simons, has noble roots. Her great-grandfather, Herbert Asquith, was Prime Minister and she is the intelligent daughter of the independent founder Matthew Simons and his employee Josephine McAfee. Carrie received a good education. She studied at Godolphin and Latimer schools in West London for £20,000 a year. Singers Sophie Ellis-Baxter and Hollywood star Kate Beckinsale were also graduates of this institution. Carrie received her undergraduate degree at Warwick University, where she studied art history. People around Simons said she wanted to be an actress, went to the auditions and even made it to the final in the film Atonement, which eventually starred Keira Knightley. But then abruptly changed her mind and decided to go into politics. To do this, Carrie got a job in the press office of the Conservative Party. At first, she helped with the election campaigns and then became head of the press office. There she was accused of abuse of office. It was thought that Simons spends too much party money and often uses the company car outside of office hours. With Boris Johnson, they knew each other for a long time. Carrie helped him to run for re-elections as mayor of London. The romance between them began 4 years ago. At a celebration of Carrie's 30th birthday, fellow party members suspected that the married politician was seriously interested in a young, ambitious subordinate. Simons carefully concealed her affair with Boris using various means of conspiracy. She changed phones and flats, dyed her hair. All this helped her. Their relationship was only discovered after Johnson filed for divorce. Despite this, many accused Carrie of destroying the family. There were other rumors. Marina Wheeler simply got tired of her husband's love affairs with other women and filed for divorce. Over the years of marriage, she twice left Johnson. In 2004, because of his affair with writer Petronella Wyatt, and in 2010 when it became known about his relationship with an art consultant Helen McIntyre, who later gave birth to his child. Boris has had a rather explosive relationship with Carrie though. In June 2019, a tenant of a house in Camberwell, South London, called the police. He said he was worried about a woman in the flat. The man described what was happening at his neighbor house. There was a sound like cymbals crashing and then shouting, and I'm sure it was Carrie shouting. She demanded, "Get out of my house," and he replied no. After the shouting, there was silence. Another neighbor told police that the screaming went on for about 10 minutes. "I was watching TV and I had to turn up the volume. I had never heard anything like that," she recalled. The British media have repeatedly discussed Carrie's complex character. Former colleagues used to say, "If she doesn't like you, you're in trouble. Vote Conservative and your wife will grow breasts." Boris Johnson is no surprise. He too has a scandalous reputation. Former French Foreign Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault even called him a liar against the wall. A prankster on the verge of a foul play, Boris was constantly lashing out with snide remarks, calling names to prime ministers and presidents. For example, Johnson was the Spectator magazine's competition for the best offensive limerick about Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan. A diplomatic scandal nearly broke out afterwards. The situation was only saved by Boris's Turkish roots. His great-grandfather was the well-known journalist Ali Kemal, who was born in Istanbul. Johnson also makes no secret of the fact that he has 5% Russian blood. Of Donald Trump, the politician said he was out of his mind and generally stunningly ignorant type. He once described Hillary Clinton as a tight blonde with pouty lips and steely gaze, just like a sadistic nurse in a mental hospital, before adding, "If Bill Clinton manages to handle his wife, he can handle any global crisis." He also took a swipe at Papuans. In 2006, he commented on the Labour Party crisis. "For the last decade, we in the Conservative Party have been used to Papua New Guinea-style orgies of cannibalism and murderous chieftains, and now we watch in joyful amazement as insanity grips Labour." Some made other bold and intolerant statements. He once said Muslim women wearing burqas looked like letterboxes and bank robbers, and during the 2004 election race, he enticed voters with a striking slogan, "Vote Conservative, and your wife will grow breasts, and you will have a chance to buy a BMW M3. A sly fox disguised as a teddy bear. Johnson was born into an aristocratic family. His great-grandmother, maid of honor Marie-Louise de Pfeffel, was of King George II's family in Britain. Boris received two prestigious educations at Balliol College, Oxford University, and Eton. His classmates nicknamed him Bigfoot, largely because of his hairstyle, but also because such nicknames are only given by British aristocratic students to someone they consider their own. There, the future politician joined an informal men's club, whose members led a wild life, debauched in expensive restaurants, smashing furniture, breaking windows, and paying cash for the damage. Johnson has been haunted by a lifelong love affair with booze parties ever since. With a degree in journalism, Johnson embarked on a career in journalism. He took a job at The Times, where he was dishonorably sacked. It turned out that a trainee had attributed a non-existent statement to one of the characters in an article. He was then dubbed in journalist circles as a sly fox disguised as a teddy bear. Disillusioned with journalism, Boris left for big politics. The repairs got out of hand. During his political career, Johnson faced all sorts of accusations, scandals, and revelations. But the news that Kerry Simons commissioned a fashion designer who works for the royal family to refurbish the Prime Minister's residence and spent around £200,000 on the refurbishment has stripped the scale of British patience. Simons decided to replace all the furniture and chose gold wallpaper for the rooms. Her husband complained repeatedly about her extravagance. The work is out of control. The cost of repairs runs into tens and tens of thousands. That said, Simons' friends are confident that the renovation is up to par with this type of building. And in general, Kerry has exquisite taste. It's a delightful, stylish, and chic classic, they say. Johnson claims to have paid for the renovations himself, but they don't believe him. A national budget of £30,000 is set aside each year to maintain the residence. Anything beyond that is for the Prime Minister to cover from his pocket. Reports have surfaced that the bill was actually paid by a Conservative Party sponsor. In addition, he gave money for the babysitting services of Wilfred, Johnson and Simon's son. I don't mind paying for campaign leaflets, but I'm outraged at being asked to literally wipe the Prime Minister's baby horse, reacting an outraged multimillionaire close to the royal family. However, the British Electoral Commission, which also monitors party finances, has already launched an investigation into what is happening. What do you think will happen to the UK after Boris Johnson leaves?